This is my life. This is my passion. This is Ike's Outdoors. Hey guys, Ike here from IkesOutdoors.com. Today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about trail cameras and how I use these trail cameras that I have. I've got some trail cameras that I bought last year. I bought 3 of them from Wild Game Innovations, and I do not recommend you to buy Wild Game Innovations. Of my 3, I've got 1 that's still functioning, 1 that's kind of limping through, and 1 that just doesn't work at all. So I wouldn't recommend buying the cheap Wild Game Innovations. I would recommend, for the price of the 3, I could have bought 1 really good one, and I wish that's what I would have done. So I would buy a Bushnell or something a little bit more upper end. Primo's makes a pretty good one as well. A lot of good trail cameras out there. Just I would really avoid the cheap ones like the Wild Game Innovation, Wild View, stuff like that, because you're going to get your money's worth when it comes to these cameras. But that's not really what I want to talk to you about today. What I want to talk to you about is how I use these trail cameras, because I use them kind of like the traditional method like most people do, and then I use mine in a little bit of a peculiar way, I guess. I haven't heard of anybody else using them the way I do, but we'll get to that in just a minute. You know, when I set up my trail cameras, I start setting up trail cameras in the spring, trying to catch turkeys and just get pictures and stuff like that. I like getting pictures of animals and see what's going on, see what's moving where. I set them up in the spring and the summer in areas where I know there's some deer traffic or some animal traffic, whatever I'm trying to capture. And I use the pictures to determine what's in there as far as number, what time of day they're moving through, you know, and what they're doing while they're in there. Are they feeding while they're in there? Are they just traveling through? Just basically to garner some general information about what's going on in an area. And it helps me to set my tree stand, because I know 90% of the time they're coming down this trail headed this direction, and this is what they're doing. It also helps me plan out my hunts as far as well, today they're on a feeding cycle. Today they're headed to a bedding, you know, this time they're headed to a bedding area. Today they're really going to be traveling, different things like that. So it helps me to know what stand to hunt and when as well, because I can tell, most of the time I can tell what those animals are doing while they're in there. So I use that really to set up my tree stands and my hunting situation like everybody else does, and use it to pattern bucks and things like that, really to know what's in an area. So that's pretty basic. You know, most people do that, have that kind of setup, and that's pretty much the general rule of thumb, is you're going to use your trail cameras to do your scouting for you. And that just makes it a whole heck of a lot easier than the old days where we'd go out and go, well, I think this is what's going on. And we'd set up a trail camera and come find out when season hits, that's not what's going on. So we really, trail cameras have helped to solve that mystery of what time the deer are coming through, when they're coming through, where they're headed, you know, and what they're doing while they're in there. So that's the information that I use, I get off my trail cameras pre-season. Now during season, I'll use my trail cameras a lot like everyone else. I'll put it up in areas where I already have stands hung up to try to capture a picture of mature bucks, mature animals, see what time they're coming through, and to know, that way I'll know what time I need to be in there hunting, if this is an afternoon stand, morning stand, both, or what, you know, that kind of general information is really helpful when you're picking your hunt, because you may have a really good evening spot and you're hunting it in the morning and not seeing nothing. So it's really helpful to have a trail camera out to get that kind of information for you. Now, like I talked about, I use mine in a kind of a peculiar way. No one else that I know of does this, but I don't think I'm the only guy. I surely ain't the only one to think of this, but I've wasted a lot of time in years past thinking, man, that's a really good area over there. You know, in season, you get in there and you find this spot, and you think, man, this is a really good spot. Or when I've been hunting big bucks are notorious for not using the main trails. You know, they'll get on the outsides of the main trails and kind of skirt them, and they'll also hit cross trails that aren't really well used and scent check all the main trails as they go. So a cross trail like that, you know, can be a real hot spot, but you got to know what time to be there. Those areas that skirt the main trails can be a good spot if you know what time to be there. And there's some areas that you think, man, this is going to be a great spot, and it ends up not being. You spend a lot of time in there and it ends up not being a good spot. Just man, it looks great and looks perfect and looks fantastic, but you spend, you know, 3 or 4 days in there hunting and you never see a deer. So I use my trail camera during season in areas that I'm not hunting. I use it in areas where I don't have a tree stand set up. You know, if I have my tree stand set up here, and as I'm walking in I find an area over here that I don't have a tree stand set up in, I'll take a trail camera in there and set up that trail camera while I go and hunt that tree stand again. And that'll give me information on whether I should spend any time in there hunting or not. You know, and I'll leave it for a week or something like that during season, because you don't have a lot of time. And if I've been seeing a big buck and I want to really get his travel patterns nailed down, and I know he's not using the main trails, I'll use that off to the side in some of those smaller trails and some of those cross trails to try to get pictures of mature animals and see what they're doing. Because a lot of times you can, if you see a big mature animal, you're going to get one shot at him and that's going to be it. So the trail camera is going to help you to get your timing right, your setup right, and everything like that on one of these mature animals without just doing guesswork, without just jumping in there and scaring him off before you ever get a shot at him. The other thing is it's going to give you the time of knowing if he's using that cross trail. He may be using that cross trail once every couple days. He may be using it once a week. He may use it one time and never come back to it, because he may hit that cross trail, find a doe, and he may be gone. So that's another good way of finding it, is whether it's worth spending some time in there if he's going to come back. And I use mine not only for mature bucks during season, I use mine for does too when it comes to November. I like to put my trail camera up in areas with heavy traffic coming through them to try to find areas that a lot of does are moving through. Because when it comes to November, if you can find a does, if you can't find your big buck, can't find your mature buck, when it comes time for the rut, early November, that pre-rut stage, late October, early November, find those does, and that trail camera can help you do that. You find that group of does that's running through there, and you just stick with them. And if you can find that group of does, then that buck will probably come in there at some point, and he's going to chase one of them out, or chase one of them does around and may give you a shot on them. Now that's when I can't find the mature buck, or in an area where I don't know if there's a mature buck in there, then I'm going to stick with the does, and I'm going to stick with them really hardcore through November. So that's the way I use my trail cameras. You know, I use it in early season, pre-season, to get my setup correct and my timing correct, and I use it in season to basically do my scouting for me, so I don't waste any time hunting in an area that's not productive. Then I use it in season to locate mature bucks in areas that kind of skirt the real populated areas where I'm seeing a lot of deer. You know, I may have a trail camera here 30 yards from my tree stand, or 40 yards from my tree stand, just trying to catch a big buck skirting around that main trail. So that's how I use my trail cameras. Like I said, it may not be the orthodox, the standard method of using your trail camera. I don't know if orthodox is the right way, or if that's just a religion. I don't know. But that's how I use my trail cameras, and hopefully you guys can pick up a tip or two here and hopefully help you out. But you know, I'm definitely no master of using trail cameras. I have pretty good success with them, and they seem to help out a lot. They are the best, most useful scouting tool that's been created, I think. So if you guys have any tips for me, send them on over, comment on this video, send them to ikesoutdoors@yahoo.com, or hit us up on Facebook at Ike's Outdoors. Or you can visit the website to watch more videos there, ikesoutdoors.com. Appreciate you guys watching.